the biggest sci-fi fantasy author right now in the world is Brandon Sanderson. He's been in a writer's group since college. He still uses the same writer's group. They don't meet, I think he said they don't meet as frequently as they used to, but he still has his writer's group. And I mean, look at where he's at. And so getting to know your fellow writers, interacting with your fellow writers, is important. And especially because we all tend to be introverts. We don't like meeting new people. We don't like getting out there. And so overcoming that natural reluctance is going to be hard.
Hey.
What's up, guys? Welcome to Third Person POV, the show where we are all really brain dead because no one apparently got any sleep this week. But lots of progress was made on writing, hopefully. So you guys will reap the benefits of that.
No progress made there either.
How are you doing, JC? That migraine treating you well?
No, it's so freaking great. I love it. Yeah, that's... I have migraine brain, so brain fog is a big thing. So if I stare at the camera vacantly, just say my name a few times, I might come back to reality.
And then Adam and I have both been up since 3 o'clock this morning, I'm sure.
Yeah, help.
So this would be great.
So yeah, that's the funny thing is I am a stay-at-home dad. I don't have a traditional 9-to-5 job. Writing is my job beyond taking care of my kids. And so you guys both have sort of, you do freelance work, right, Tyler? And Gray, since we're going to use your pen name.
We're going to do it.
So on the screen, you have a regular job, as it were.
Yeah.
And I think that's important to point out to the listeners that you can be a writer outside of sitting down like I get the chance to do for 6 to 8 hours a day and write. And a lot of people should expect to be more like you guys at first, especially. So
yeah, screw you, JC.
I get that a lot.
It makes me feel better about my writing output, guys.
Yeah, that. But part of the reason I don't have the traditional job is because of my migraines. It makes it borderline impossible to hold down a job. So I'm lucky that I get that opportunity, I guess I could say, despite it being because of a neurological disorder. So,
well, you turn that around. Some would say you were meant to write, right?
Yeah, I hope so. So.
Should we talk about are we, I guess we did kind of mention it in the last episode, but third person POV, that's what we're feeling for our podcast title.
Yep. Yeah.
We have a title.
We'll have intro.
We have a title.
Music, and we'll have.
We've got
going on, but
we've got we got the Instagram page. You started that this week, which is good. So
I haven't checked. I don't think anyone's following us yet because we haven't done
it yet,
but. Oh, you have. I have. Gray, you better.
There we go.
I'll have to get an Instagram. Yeah.
There you go.
I don't know if this face is ready for Instagram, though.
That's the nice thing. You don't have to put your face on it. I think my Instagram profile picture is currently like a picture of my old laptop or something.
Nice.
I was like, I tried to look you up, JC. Is like, I saw the laptop and I was like, I bet that's him. But I thought I'd skip first.
Yeah. So that's one of those things we also need to talk about is the difference. Well, I can't say it's a difference because if you want to be successful as a writer, you have to have a social media presence. The great example I can think of is Brandon Sanderson. He's a traditionally published author. He's one of the biggest authors in the world, and he attributes a lot of his success to being active in his fan communities. He interacts with his fans, and now he has to do that less because he's so big now. But your social media presence and your ability to interact on social media makes a big difference to your overall success. And sometimes it feels overwhelming. It can feel like a huge burden, especially when it's like, well, I got Facebook, I've got Instagram, I've got Threads, I've got X. You might have a YouTube channel.
MySpace.
There's a lot to do. MySpace. there's a lot to do. There's a lot to cover. Yeah, Substack, a blog. But all of those you got to make sure you find the ones that work for you and then utilize them. There are a lot of courses about how to successfully use social media beyond just like advertising, but making sure that you're creating posts and content that are relevant to what you do as a creator. So something to consider.
Absolutely. Go start a podcast. That's pretty good.
All right, yeah, go start a podcast. We say this in our third episode, hoping that it's become success.
Hopefully we actually have people listening to us at this point.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Man. Well, shall we get to the roasting? Are we ready?
I think so.
I think I was first on the block last time.
Yeah.
You said you were?
Yeah. Tyler was first last time. I was first the time before that. So I think, Gray, you're up.
Are you sure, JC?
Are you up or am I up? I don't remember.
I would rather you be up, but...
All right, I can go first. That's fine. Let me have it. Hi, future JC here. The section the guys are going through this week from Technomancer introduces a new case for Jessica and Eve. I have minor cases that I introduce throughout the story. Some of them are easy, some of them are harder, and sometimes they interact with the main case that Jessica and Eve are working on. Sometimes they don't. And this one is just to show that there are other cases and other things that they do as working PIs to try to earn money, because they have bills they have to pay. So this is just another way of showing that they have other things that they're working on, other cases that they have to do. Again, I apologize for my voice. I'm sick as I'm recording this. So yeah, I'm a little rough, but I hope you guys can pick up and learn some stuff from the comments and feedback we give this week.
Sweet. All right. Let me pull up your doc.
Adam, I can go first if you want. It's really fresh in my mind.
Yeah.
Full disclosure, dear listener, I forgot that I needed to read some stuff before tonight. And so I had to text these guys like, hey, can we just be like 10 minutes late? So I can have 20 minutes to read both of them. And I got it done. So JC, as always, I'm interested in the world. I want to know. There's always things I want to know more of. I guess let's just get straight to the razzing. But my biggest critique is I feel like the pacing was, and this could have been my caffeine-addled brain as I read it as fast as I humanly could. Mm-hmm. But I felt like the pacing was a little bit too fast. Like the scenes were too short and there was too much going on. Like, I mean, you didn't give us a massive section this week. It was only 2,600 words. But there were like 4 different scenes, which isn't a deal breaker by any chance. But I think you would have gotten more traction if you grabbed onto 1 or 2 of the scenes and spent more time there. I especially we didn't cue Future JC. I'm kind of using queuing Future JC as my my signal as I'm going into editing. But Future JC 2 minutes ago. But with the first scene that you gave us, and we have this what's her name? Senora something or another.
Solis, yeah.
Solis. I wanted more so I could realize why this was important. Because otherwise it kind of feels like a random And this is probably honestly realistic, just a random occurrence in the PI's life. But because it's in your book, I'm going to assume it's important. I just don't. It's just not super clear to me why. Not that you have to explain anything, but there should be questions. Because I'm assuming this is going to be turn into something with that. The date cracks me up.
What was the
romantic date.
Yeah.
Not the date,
okay.
not the day date, but the romantic date.
So let me throw out the little explanation for those that aren't familiar. I don't use chapters in Collinsworth case files. I use date and time stamps, basically. So when he said date, I was like, you mean the chapter heading? Forgetting completely that the scene the part of the scene was a actual date between two people. Okay. Anyway,
but with the dinner date, to be more specific, I feel like we really need to get a romance writer on here, because
yes,
I don't think that any of us are really great at this part, because I definitely think there's some tweaks that need to be made. I feel like Darren is really direct, and there could be a little bit more indirection. That's not how I want to say that, but hopefully people know what I mean.
Interplay?
He just gets like straight to the point, like, I want to date you. And I feel like people, especially people who really like reading romance, would appreciate a bit of a slow burn, maybe.
Yeah.
So a lot more showing his feelings rather than just getting straight to the point.
Okay.
And again, we are interested in having like guest writers come on this podcast. So if you're listening to this here in our third episode in, and you are a romance writer, hit us up.
Yeah.
Because we need your help.
Badly.
Actually, the next section I think I'm going to give to you actually goes a little bit more into Warren and Layla's romance. So you guys will have your chances to razz me too.
Gotcha.
But that aside, I like that we are getting the bad guy. Presumably the bad guys. When I read the names, I was like, I don't know who these people are. Am I just forgetting who they are? They seem like kind of bad guys, or at least antagonistic. And great, we had the same thing from you today. We got very villainous, and we'll talk about that. Very villainous POV. JC, I still want to freaking know, what does it mean when the natural laws shift? I don't understand.
Yeah. To be honest, I think I need to give a better explanation of. I don't think I even give a good one in the main series. So yeah, maybe that's a
for sure. Something. For sure, I get you. Definitely something in your revisions to go and do. Yeah, I don't really have anything too much else to say about that last scene. I'm just interested in who these people are, what their connections are, and excited to read more.
Awesome.
All right, cool. Admittedly, and I tried to solve this issue before we started recording, my audio dropped out for you discussing like the first page. So sorry, Tyler, I can't copy off of your homework this week. I agree with Tyler and everything. All right, so I guess we'll just take it kind of section by section there. I don't know why, speaking of the date, but JC has these little timestamps, if you will, like you mentioned at the beginning of each chapter, that are very down to the minute, which is kind of a cool, unique thing to his series. I just now started paying attention to those. I'm not a numbers guy, I guess. I was like, oh, look at that. It's 11:45 a.m. I should look at the time. Yeah, that's on me as a reader. That's not. Anyway. Neither here nor there.
That's the right-brained writer coming through, not paying attention.
Yes, exactly. Save us from ourselves. All right. So this chapter is the, at least for me, long-awaited romance scene. I was hoping, ever since the secretary for Darren even hinted remotely that Jessica should pose as his bodyguard / date. Like, yes, let this happen. Let there be awkward romance. And that did not disappoint. I don't know how awkward you intended it to be, but it came across that way.
Very.
Okay, we shall get into that. Let's see. I like that Jessica is kind of talking to herself as she gets ready for this date. I would like to see, because I picture her like primping, I don't know, messing with her hair, makeup, whatever those things are that attractive people do. I wouldn't know.
Me neither.
And that could be an opportunity for show versus tell, I think. And I like the fact that she's kind of having a conversation. Eve is smirking or getting more of her human side in this interaction, giving her a hard time. They're kind of having a sibling bonding moment. So that's cool. I actually didn't mind. I liked when this other character shows up out of the blue. I forget her name. Describe her as a short Latina woman, and then you kind of change into Jessica having this interchange in Spanish with her, and that worked well for me, the way that you did it. I kind of view it as like a Sherlock Holmes thing where there's like the overarching story and then there's a case of the week. So in this case, in this chapter, we get some other, I'm assuming, seemingly unrelated case that will, I assume, become related at some point later in the narrative. So I feel like you're kind of making a little bit of a promise here that this will be important, and I'm willing to wait for that. I should also mention, JC, Tyler and I have both been giving you a hard time. Like, I need more action sequences. Is this a superhero movie or not? And you did mention prior to sending out this chapter for us, just some context behind the scenes that you might cut some of that in prior to this chapter. So I'm kind of reserving judgment on that front. Okay, and on to the main event, the romance. So I kind of like the interplay between Jessica and Darren in the not limo, as you specify. That's kind of funny. Let me see if I can find an example. Let's see. Oh, I like the fact that they kind of ease into it a little bit. Jessica and Darren are both talking about their strategies for meeting at like someplace like this fancy restaurant that they're about to. Jessica in the context of meeting a confidential source, and Darren in the context of meeting a client or potential business partner. Like, yeah, people like to feel comfortable. Like, do you expect me to talk to them in a back alley? Like, how did you think this would play out? And they're kind of like, coming at it from their professional sides and working in towards the personal element. So I like that, and I think that's the right approach. Given how bad both of them seem to be at romance, they're definitely going to start in a very neutral place. I do feel like it did go from 0 to 120 real quick with the putting the hand on the... Was it Darren that grabs Jessica's hand, I believe? Yeah. So that for me was like, whoa. And he's like... Not in so many words, I would like to date you when this is over. I would like this to not just be a contract. So if you were trying to play up the awkward elements, I think you have a strong foundation there. And if you're not, that might be a red flag. Yeah, I felt like that was pretty sudden. Let's see. Even just building up to that, there's a few moments. I'll give you one. Let's see. Jessica and Sarah laughed. I think I like you, Jessica, Sarah said. And this is the waitress. So you kind of give some character to, which I thought was cool. I'll let you date him. And you kind of give us a little bit of backstory that Sarah is actually a friend of Darren. And that's why he feels comfortable coming to this restaurant. Okay, so thanks, Jessica answers. If I need dirt on him, I'll know who to call. And then Darren kind of says, well, that's it. I'm out of here. And then he like pretends to get up and leave. And oh gosh, that was just so awkward and like Michael Scottish. I pictured Michael Scott. I don't know if was that kind of what you were going for, or?
Yeah. Unfortunately, when I wrote this scene, there were other scenes that I hadn't figured out yet. And now that I've figured them out, these scenes are going to make more sense the next time around. I will say that. Yeah.
A little bit more of a lead up. Okay. Yeah, cool. Yeah, when he just jumps to saying, part of the reason I hired you was because I wanted a chance to see you again. I was like, that seems very forward for the character that Darren has been thus far. Yeah, I'll take your word for it that you're going to kind of build this up a little bit more, and in which case it might work perfectly. Other than that, yeah, I just feel like it's a pretty strong section, and I'm looking forward to those action sequences. Imminently. Any questions for us, JC? Good work.
Not particularly on this section. This is one I've never been super confident with anyway. Fortunately, my wife tends to read, I'm not going to say exclusively romance, but she reads a lot of romance, and she is one of my editors. So she will be helping me with some of these scenes.
Like a sensitivity reader.
Yeah, there's supposed to be a level of awkwardness between the two of them. Again, because of things that will come out later that you guys will get a chance to read toward the last third of the book. That should help make some of these scenes make sense. And then I've got to go back through and add some foreshadowing in. Yeah. But yeah, it honestly, it doesn't surprise me that those came across a little weird, because writing them was a little weird. So there's that. No, I don't have. Nothing. No comments from me this week. I'm good on all that.
Thanks for letting us read that.
Hey, no problem. Thanks for the feedback. I appreciate it.
All right. Shall we move on to me or Tyler?
Well, I'm last. So.
Yeah.
All right. You're going to stick by that.
Do you want to start in on them?
Yeah, I'll start in. All right. I will say this. So, personal preference. So take it or leave it. I don't like I don't even remember what they're supposed to be.
Future Adam.
Future Adam. Future Gray.
Writing bots, roll out. It's Gray Alder, here to hit you with some story once again. So, I put on my big boy pants this week and submitted 2 chapters for the guys to evaluate. Here's what you need to know. To begin with, we're sticking with our main POV character, Nin, the memory assassin, as he struggles with extreme sleep deprivation while setting up camp at the edge of the Arius forest, alongside his traveling companion, the cheerful but enigmatic Chaplain Gil. Fatigue causes Nin's internal anchor, Atrium, to go silent and allows the other, rougher personality fragment named Stills to briefly seize control of Nin's body, nearly exposing his deception. Nin and Gil share a meal of sausages and foraged ingredients around the campfire, during which Nin, back in control of his body, tries to maintain his military cover while subtly probing Gil's knowledge and intentions. The chapter closes with Nin catching a fleeting glimpse of a supernatural creature called an undula. Without getting into too many spoilers here, our heroes do survive the encounter with this eerie, floating denizen of the forest, but the encounter leaves Nin feeling a bit rattled. Finally, however, Nin gives way to exhaustion and slips into a fitful sleep, unwittingly sending a faint signal rippling outward along the mysterious mental channel of the mental link, stirring distant forces which begin to take notice of the traveler's journey there.
Giving us an intro into this section. And we're back. The ARG. Exclamations like that. Personally as a reader, I'm not a fan of those. I hadn't mentioned it before because there were other things I was thinking of. That's a thing. Anyway. I like how you emphasize the fact that he's not really got a lot of sleep for 2 days, because that will mess with your head. And so it makes the rest of the section work for the confusing state that he's in, because he's exhausted. Having stayed up, I think my record is 36, 37 hours.
Dang.
That was when I was in high school. So, and I was loopy as heck after 37 hours of no sleep. So 2 days, it makes this section, it gives context to the section, why the section happens, how it flows. So it's important. And it makes it easier to understand how he would miss things or misinterpret things or everything else. Let's see here. Get a little background on the world, which is nice. Talking about the revolution and the separation of the two nations. That felt like it was a good spot to put that in. Didn't feel like it was a big expo dump. So good on that. I like that Stills comes back. You're asking a lot of, you're getting the reader to ask a lot of questions with how this interaction between the personalities work. And realizing that the body that we are seeing all of this happen to doesn't even know who they really are. Are they Stills? Are they Neen? Are they somebody else? Are they somebody else? And so it lets us clue in a little bit more on the magic. It lets us know that this is going to take work for anybody to learn this kind of magic, because you're going to have a lot of training. Let's see here. And I like that when you switch to Stills and he takes over, it's Stills. Like, it's the same, it's the voice, it's the mannerisms, everything. He's there again. I like Gil in this section. He's gone from this sort of smiling giant, happy-go-lucky kind of guy to, this is why Atrium said he was a threat, and you can see it. So you establish it without him, having to rip something's head off or something like that. It's very clear that he's that he is a threat, that he is dangerous. There were a couple of places where you'd switched into first person, so I highlighted those. Perhaps it would hunt him no longer in Gil's perspective. What is hunting him? Great, now I have to read more. Excellent, good job. So, like I said, you're asking a lot of questions in this section, and it's getting the reader to go, I need to know the answers to the questions. There were a couple of places, and this might just be migraine brain speaking. So there were a couple of places where I had to go back and reread to follow along. But I think just an editor will be better suited to help you make sure that this is flowing and there's not confusion. Let's see. Oh, I like that the creature, its cloak sways in the wind when there's no wind. Great way of establishing creepiness is when unnatural things happen in subtle ways.
When the natural laws shift.
Yes. I will work on it, I promise. But it's like the opposite of the fades from the Wheel of Time. If there's a wind blowing, their cloak is always still. This one, it's got a moving cloak. There's no wind. It's that creep factor that works really, really well. So I threw in a piece of advice where you reference the name of the creature being from the old tongue. And I've given lectures on this. Make sure that is in a reference document somewhere so you can keep your terminology consistent. And you'll remember this means this. So not only does it apply to the creature consistently, but maybe it shows up somewhere else to show, and it stays consistent. So as an important thing to remember. Nothing really. Let's see here. And then we get to the monster, the thing at the end of at the end of this section.
Nihilus,
as in nihilistic.
Kind of.
Is that what you're going for? Is sort of that feel without? Yeah, that's. Yeah, I like that section. I like the feel of that. I will say overall, this section feels a little less polished than the rest of what you've given us. But again, a good editor will help you with that, right, Tyler?
For sure.
But it keeps the story going. Like overall, you're still on track with the story. You're still giving us information while also making us ask from more information and want to find more information. Tightening up some sentences and some structure. Yeah, that'll happen as you work on it. Overall, great job. You're still keeping us interested. Tyler?
Yeah. Maybe this is JC's migraine brain versus my super fast reading, but I actually had the opposite opinion. I felt like there were less things in this section that kicked me out, so that felt more polished to me. I need to read it again. Maybe JC needs to read it again, and we can give you better opinions. But yeah, I really liked it. We're always talking about world building. I feel like I loved the tradition about camping on the green. That was really cool, making the world feel real. Learning more about Bronzewood, learning more about the forest, definitely getting like Blight vibes. I think we talked about Eye of the World last time or the time before that. Definitely getting that kind of feel for it, with especially when you're talking about like the trees being corrupted, which might be something I'm making up now. Am I right about that?
Yes and no. I get a little poetic sometimes with my verbiage, so it may not be a literal corruption in every single sense, but the overall feel.
And like the other name for the forest, the Tangled Man, I really like that. Stills coming back, having him like compared to Nian made me like Stills less in a good way. Like it feels like we're seeing him, because we're kind of seeing him from an outside perspective ish compared to what we were seeing him from before. He just seems like an a-hole, but like a fun a-hole, you know. So I really like that. The one thing, like I said, there's really only one thing that kicked me out. It's kind of more of a pet peeve of mine. When Gil draws his knife and is like taking a step toward the traveler, it's a pet peeve of mine when people draw their weapons without real intent, because I felt like he was just like, oh, should I trust this guy? Shing! But I didn't think he was actually going to kill him. Maybe he was. But the way it was described, the way I took it, it didn't feel like he was really drawing with intent. And I think that's kind of a trope. Like it's kind of like, oh, look at me, I'm a cool dude, I'm drawing my sword, I'm drawing my gun, whatever. In real life, if you do that, you're gonna kill somebody. Like you're not doing it just to be showy, because there's consequences, right? And I think even if Nian sees the knife, then there'd be words, there'd be something going on. I feel like that went by too smoothly, if that makes sense. Like the thought about having more than one name keeps you from being cursed. That feels very on brand. Whether or not that's superstition, because it kind of felt like superstition at some point, but then later on it felt like it was a real thing. So whatever direction that goes, that's another good bit of world building. Very interested in this bad guy that we're being introduced to. Both Undula and the guy there at the very end. The Neela's the Niles person. So lots of cool things going on. Lots of questions. Yeah, I do have a question, but maybe we'll leave it for another time. Maybe it's something you don't want to explain right now, but yeah, really, really good stuff, man.
Cool. Appreciate that. Gosh, I'm trying to think of a specific question. I know, JC, you mentioned the fact that the narrative continues to pose a lot of questions, even as it answers a few. Is it? It's not getting to be too much, is it? Like too much, kind of where the mystery just blurs into confusion.
I would say no at this juncture. If you weren't offering the answers that you're offering as we go along, I would say, yeah, you're asking too many questions and not giving enough information. But you're giving us enough information. You're answering other questions and posing new ones. And to me, having read lots of fantasy books, that fits the flow. It fits the way fantasy tends to go. Like if you go back to read the first 4 chapters of The Eye of the World, and how many questions do you have? Or the first 4 chapters of Mistborn, even. How many questions are there in Mistborn in the first 4? Heck, the prologue. The prologue is just one big question with a couple of answers. And so you're on the right track. As long as we start getting answers within the next couple of sections and maybe a few less questions, I think you're going to be fine. Unless, of course, this is meant to be, a Sanderson-esque tome, I think you're fine.
Okay, cool.
And I like that you've kind of set Neon up to be kind of the inexperienced point of view character. So it makes sense that Gil is going to be explaining things to them. Because, Neon's very good in his sphere, but not in others. And we have a lot of questions about the others. So I think that's going to be really good.
Cool. Yeah, I kind of wanted to cheat and make it like a half fish out of water character. So it's almost literally half, depending on who he is and what's going on. Cool. Let's see. Oh, and then
who are we sponsored today by, JC?
Is it Dr. Shasta?
No, today it's Monster.
Very good.
It's my go-to when I have a migraine. Let me tell you.
Who's that on the cover? Is that like Buffy the Vampire Slayer?
No, this one's
the cover.
It's called Bad Apple. It's an apple juice one. If you need an energy drink and you like apple juice, I really recommend it. It's really good.
I stay away from. I don't want to be a caffeine addict. I see too many of those at my work. But I was going to mention.
Yeah.
No, it's funny that you keep running into like the random like first person POV switch because I think I mentioned somewhere. I was stitching together some pieces of a previous draft, and I was experimenting with first person in that one. And so I'm trying to go through and scrub that and like bring those two drafts together, Mm-hmm. But every now and again, little pieces fall by the wayside. So that's what that is.
Yeah. I kind of figured it was something along those lines. I did the same thing with my first hero unit. I initially started it in first person and then switched. So I know how that goes.
Yeah, and you can't just do search for I.
Yeah.
That's, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, is that everybody? Are we done for the episode?
Yeah, if you don't have any questions.
You wish.
Only 30 minutes in. What are you talking about? We still have an hour left.
I was about to say this is a short episode.
Honestly, that would be okay, though.
Yeah.
Hello, future Tyler here to give you context on this week's section. I gave the guys 2 scenes today. The first scene starts right after the last scene that we started last week. They're going to talk a little bit about the name that Warren hears. It's his aunt's name. He just found out that his aunt died to close the portal to Fairy 15 years ago. It's kind of the main premise of my book is that there used to be a portal to Fairy and now there isn't. It got closed. Now the bad guys are trying to open it. Good guys are trying to keep it closed. So he's kind of shocked by this revelation, and he leaves the Scooby Gang in Nan, and he's just trying to get some space. Layla, the kind of love interest, goes after him and tries to get him to stay. They're really trying to get him involved in their efforts to keep the gate closed, but he just doesn't want to be involved, essentially, at this point. The next scene, fast forward a couple days, he is leaving school, and Sheriff Bradley is kind of one of the main antagonists of this book, picks him up. Not in an arresting kind of way, but just in a way that he wants to talk to him. And he's found the body of the hound that Warren killed, I think like a week and a half ago at this point. Warren killed the hound on accident, by the way. And again, context, if you're new to this, hounds are basically these feral, crazed humans that are in the woods right now. They're connected to the wild hunt, and they're bad news. So Warren goes and talks with Sheriff Bradley, and he learns a little bit more about Bradley, in that Sheriff Bradley was also one of the ones who closed the portal with his aunt. He was part of that whole old guard, taking care of business back in the day kind of deal. But now he's wanted to open up the portal because there are bad things in the woods. He thinks that they need allies from the other side, from Fairy, to be able to combat the bad things in the woods, other than the remnants of the wild hunt that are still in the woods. And he and Warren, they don't agree. They fight, but then they're able to come to a kind of understanding. And yeah, that's about this week's. Thanks, guys.
You want to start us off with this one, Gray?
Yeah, sounds good. Let me pull that up. Okay, where are we at? All right, we got a Warren POV chapter. And I read this towards the beginning of the week, so let me freshen my memory here.
You're all good. I wasn't fast enough when you said, where are we at? The second after you started saying, I was like, the pit of despair.
The pit. Nice. I mean, yeah, kind of. We'll get to that. Okay, so overall, great stuff, as always. Right when you open, granted, it has been a week since we, read your stuff for the preceding chapter, but I feel like it's worth noting. So this chapter opens up with Warren started. The name seemed to ring in his ears, familiar and alien at the same time, which is a great sentence. But I was trying to remember, what was the name from the last page of the previous chapter? And I feel like even if you are the reader and you're reading the final draft of this and you flip the page, I don't know, it doesn't really cost you anything to repeat that name, especially if it's going to be significant, which turns out it is, right? But yeah, it bears repeating. Cool. Let's see. I continue to enjoy these little quiet moments that Warren has that kind of make this juxtaposition between the crazy paranormal stuff that he comes in and out of, and then regular small town life, like cars driving down the street, it being a quiet Sunday afternoon, which a quiet Sunday afternoon isn't something you're going to get in Chicago where he's from. That's also unique to the feel, the texture of this little town. As weird as it is, it's also a small town. So those little details that you keep peppering in are certainly nice. Let's see. I enjoy the fact that Warren is booking it out of the meeting that he just came from, but he'll stop for Layla, of all people, right?
Of course.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you're like, oh, I can so relate to that. If it was AJ or Luke following him, he might get a fist to the gut, but it's Layla, so he'll stop. So that's kind of neat. And then I feel like you've used this one little detail about Layla many times, but the single strand of hair that's out of place that falls on her face, I think you've used that many times. Anyway, it's one more little detail that a red-blooded young teenager like Warren, or any man, would notice. And I like how you kind of, I don't realize that was like a Chekhov's gun in a weird way, because Warren finally gets to brush the strand of hair back as a sort of like comforting gesture. And that's a really cool, he could say, hey, baby, everything's going to be all right. Or he could just brush the strand of hair away. And that feels so much more powerful. in their interaction, and it feels like a promise of things to come too. You know, like you wouldn't just do that. Obviously, he's got the hots for her. Or I assume at least. All right. Let's see. I find there's another line interesting, just kind of getting into Warren's head. Warren has this line that says, "I just want to take care of myself, my mom, and occasionally you guys, although I'd rather avoid it." I love how Warren has added the Scooby Gang to his list of priorities that he wants to protect. And I don't know if he realizes that he's done it, or he's still trying to walk it back. Like, I'd rather avoid it. I don't really want to care about you guys. So that's kind of neat. He's definitely experiencing growth and definitely trying to fight it. Okay, so when he and Layla are talking, and Warren tells Layla not to quote Edmund Burke at her before she even says the line, "For evil to triumph, it's only necessary for good men to do nothing." And she's referring to the Holocaust, which is a really great line, really powerful, applies here totally. I feel like it may be a bit of an assumption that your readership knows that line before you explicitly state it. I don't feel like it would be too on the nose to just come out with a line first before Warren throws up his hands and says, "Don't shove that down my face. Don't quote Edmund Burke to me." Curious to get JC's thoughts on that, but just a little thing. Love that scene. Okay, and then getting into the next scene, which gets us back into conflict. So Warren's at school. He's successfully avoiding the rest of the Scooby Gang. He's kind of trying to get back to homeostasis, like trying to ignore all the weird stuff, keeping his head down, trying to be the good boy. And then the sheriff pops up, Bradley pops up, and we're like, shoot, this is how he gets drawn back in. Gosh, for anyone listening, I almost don't want to like accidentally spoil any part of this because it's such an interesting encounter. The fact that Bradley, already knows about the body, the hound that Warren had an encounter with chapters ago. That's cool. And the fact that Warren's smart enough to not try and lie to him, his internal reasoning kicks in and is like, this is going to look so much worse if I don't just come clean, even if it's to this douchebag sheriff that I do not trust as far as I can throw. Which you continue to emphasize. He has great bulk, so obviously no one's going to be throwing Bradley anywhere. A nice little kind of one of those little Darth Vader cheats, like make him big, make him intimidating, psychologically, psych out the reader. So you continue to do that. But so I like that Warren continues to be a smart character. I like his little tete-a-tete with Bradley because they both kind of have this thought of like, I'd rather not be interacting with you. You'd rather not be talking to me. But we got stuff to talk about. And then he brings him to the morgue, and it's like, oh, cool. This is going to get creepy, to look at the the body of the hound. A few little notes here and there about like description. You mentioned the smell of sterile decay, and normally I'd compliment you for your perfect use of the five senses. Here, though, I feel like sterile decay may hit for some folks and not for others. I had to stop and think for a second, like, oh, is that, what's that chemical that they use? Formaldehyde? Like, what does that smell exactly? I don't know if there's a way around familiarity with that or if there's any better way to describe it, but just something to consider. Cool. Yeah. And then the conversation with Bradley, which quite naturally escalates into a physical encounter, is awesome. I like the fact that that happens. It's almost like you find an excuse for violence to happen. I know it's not the case. It feels natural for those two characters, given their backgrounds, to just like, you know what, we're done talking this out. We're going to fight this out. Even as Warren is just continuing to try to do the right thing and not fight, he constantly finds himself in fisticuffs, which is cool. And then just kind of that cliffhanger that you leave us on towards the end of the chapter, with Bradley implying that Warren needs to go with his son into the forest to check out this thing that you won't believe. I can't tell you on this page because you're just going to have to go see it to believe it. And okay, that's cool. I'm also a huge fan just generally of erstwhile enemies working together for the greater good trope and all the cool like characterization that gets to come out as a result of that. So I'm really looking forward to the next chapter with Riley and Warren getting to work together, quote unquote. Yeah, a lot of good continued world building going on in this chapter. More explanations that we're slowly getting fed. So overall, great job.
Thank you very much. I didn't realize I had used the strand of Layla's hair so much.
I like it.
Okay. Hope it's not too much.
What you got, JC?
So I think I agree with Gray about and I know it's probably a editing cliche that you could just start off, the very first two words are the name that he's reacting to, and then go into it. I think his response is Warren. It's a Warren response. Like he accepts it, but at the same time, I don't want this. I need to be the good kid to stop worrying mom. And that stays consistent. That's his consistent motivation. And I like that. And I like that AJ is not giving up on him. He keeps wanting Warren to be there, knowing he needs Warren to be there because Warren can fight. I like the paragraph where he's thinking about Layla and talking about the light in her eyes, comparing her to Joan of Arc. All of a sudden, it's like, okay, we're getting a little bit more of, one, how she comes across to Warren, and two, that it really is kind of her personality, that she sees herself as this potential protector, somebody that wants to help, somebody that wants to get involved. So I like that. I think that was a good detail. I think Migraine Brain was hitting me hard on this one, or I was just really enjoying what you were writing. I didn't actually have a lot in the next section. I will say I like that when the sheriff shows up, he doesn't say kid, son, Warren. It's Mr. Roberts. It sets a different tone for the
Mr.
conversation.
Anderson.
Yeah, like it sets a different tone. Like he's not trying to be friendly. He's not trying to be overly patronizing. He's addressing this kid in a way that sets a tone of it's different, because in a lot of stories, especially the teen ones, when an authority figure approaches a kid, it's I'm just trying to be your friend, or you're just a kid. This isn't that, and I like that. It's a different approach, but it also lets me know that Bradley's after something. Clearly, he's not just coming to talk to Warren to harass him. He wants something, and he's not. I mean, as much as he is a jerk, he's not stupid. I like the back and forth. He comes across like, I don't like Bradley as a character. You're not supposed to like him as a character.
I was waiting for you to say that, JC. I knew you were going to say that today.
but the thing about it is he comes across as a genuine human being in this one. He's not like a mustache twirling villain. He has motivations. He has reasons behind his motivations. And he's not out here to make Warren's life miserable. He's just after answers, and he wants to know. He wants to do things. He thinks he's right. I mean, the cliche line is the hero, or the villain is the hero of his own story. Bradley views himself as the hero, or at least the person that is willing to do what's necessary to fix the problem. Let's see. Like Gray pointed out, Warren's not stupid. Like, he doesn't try to lie. The cliche, again, I talk about YA cliches all the time because I've read a lot of Japanese manga and tend to be the slice of life ones, and they lie to authority figures all the time, even if they know it's not going to work. And it drives me nuts, because not every kid is just going to outright lie to their authority figures. Warren's not stupid. He has the background experience with his dad being a cop. he knows, and so he acts accordingly. It fits his character, fits the story, works really well, and is a completely different take than what a lot of writers would take. So good on you on that. Like I said, I didn't have a lot of like specific comments through this. The one thing I will say is that I think Warren needs just a little bit more motivation to why he's willing to ask questions and get information from Bradley that he wouldn't necessarily have asked to Nan and the Scooby Gang, as you refer to them. I kind of get the idea of what you're going for. I think just a little bit more of an overt, this is why I'm doing it, this is why he's doing it, will help make this conversation feel like it fits a lot better. Because it's a great interaction. It's a great conversation. But we go from Warren saying, I don't want to know more, to people that he likes and trusts, to, okay, I'm going to ask Bradley these questions, even though he might not like or trust him. And again, that could be migraine brain missing some things.
I think that's a good point, actually.
Yeah, it's something I've been struggling with that particular scene.
Yeah. And there was a spot, where was it? Right after they go into the office, or right in that area, there's a spot that is like, you can add the comment right here that Warren sees this as an opportunity to get honest answers. Because Nan, she's been sort of forthcoming, but at the same time, she has said a couple of times, you guys just don't need to know that. You're not old enough yet, you know? And so if he thinks Bradley's going to answer his questions, then it makes sense that he says, okay, now we're going to talk. Let's see where I went. Again, the conversation itself, great. Love the flow. Love the information we're getting. I called a couple of things on this, just so you know, mentally. I'm not going to say what for the listeners who might want to not be spoiled, but you give enough hints that the aware reader is going to pick up on them, and this is going to be like, yay, I guessed it right. And the reader that is reading just a little too fast is going to be like, wow, that's at it. So, good job.
I'm curious.
Your foreshadowing worked.
I'm not sure what you're talking about. Go read your comment. You guys have picked up on stuff that I didn't actually mean for it to be a thing, but it was a thing. It just wasn't. It's just kind of maybe we'll talk about this at some point. But not everything that we put into our books is super intentional. A lot of it is kind of our intuition acting through us.
Yeah. The importance of Warren and his family is what I'm referencing. I picked up on the potential for that earlier.
Gotcha.
And to have it answered here. So if that was intentional, good job. If it wasn't, good job anyway. Because it feels like it fit the story. It feels like it was supposed to be there, and it was the right answer. And I like that Bradley has logical reasons for what he's doing. He's not just initially, I mean, there could be more to it, but he doesn't feel like I'm just after power. I just want to be the hero. I just want to be in charge. No. There are people that are suffering, and I think this will end it. So, and then hopefully later we'll get Nan or Starnes' view on everything. So again, there's
true, yeah.
There's more sides to the story,
I feel like I see Bradley in a more sympathetic light since he showed up to, save the gang towards the end of was it the previous chapter from the writer? So that makes this exchange more interesting because okay, how sympathetic is he, and how much of my original view of Bradley should still be intact?
I will say that sorry, go ahead.
Huh?
Go ahead.
I will say that the fight between him and Warren, It helped firmly plant him back in I hate this guy territory. Just
Good.
just so you know.
I was about to say, just to kind of go off that, is like Bradley started to become more sympathetic than I ever meant him to be.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm glad
and then he wasn't.
I'm glad the fight put him back where
Yes.
I originally meant him to be.
Yeah, like he and the thing is after watching some of his interactions, I get the kind of character he's supposed to be, and so even as we're watching this conversation play out and he's trying to come across as sympathetic, in the back of my mind I'm wondering, what are his ulterior motives? What is he actually trying to achieve beyond what he says? And that's the character that you've established. I don't view him as somebody that is taking that the approach of I just want to be the hero. There's something else there motivating it. And when he says real magic, that was kind of like, okay, either he doesn't understand or he thinks he understands better than Nan, because she said that humans can't use real magic. So it's interesting. You're giving us multiple points of view. The fight was really well done, well written. I like it also that in one point Bradley defends his son, but at the same time recognizes he's got limitations. He knows he's not the perfect angel. He knows that his son is in need of assistance. He's a blunt instrument is how I would refer to him as. Yeah, like I said, there's not a lot of comments in that section. Otherwise, yeah, good work, good writing, good story. I actually got finished and leaned back and talked to my wife about how sometimes reading your guys' work makes me sit back and think, am I a good writer?
I definitely think that too.
So good work this week, because you made me ask that question. It really worked this week. So,
well, you are a good writer, JC.
I appreciate that.
You too.
But when I said I wonder that too about myself, I'm like, is JC actually a good writer?
I got what you meant. Don't worry.
Is JC actually good? I know he's published a lot of books, but is he actually?
Does he know what
he probably has a ghostwriter?
Yeah, it's somebody else. There's no way he's writing.
His wife writes all his books. That's what it is.
Oh, on that front, there is a section I got to towards the end of Technomancer that I was like, Crystal, can you come write this for me? Because it was a scene that it was way outside of my comfort zone. And she took care of that for me. She wrote about a paragraph and a half for me.
Very nice.
Nice.
So, cool. So I have a couple questions. And I'm probably just going to give them in random order because that's where my brain is right now.
That's fine.
The end of the first scene, I'm a little bit worried that it ends too abruptly. What was your guys' impression of that?
Let me go back to that.
I think that ends perfectly because the strand of hair that I'm going to continue to obsess over, the fact that he brushes that away, fade to black, I like that.
Yeah. No, I think it's a good transition because of the emotional state that Warren's in. It should be an abrupt end. It shouldn't be a lingering end. It shouldn't reminisce. He's in a keyed up emotional state. It should end. I think it's a good transition, personally.
Okay, good deal. Sometimes I feel like I'm writing my characters to be too smart, especially Warren and AJ. I feel like they're coming across as more intelligent than your average 16-year-old. No offense to any 16-year-olds, love ya. like with the Edmund Burke quote, like I don't think I knew who Edmund Burke was when I was 16. That was much later in life. AJ picks up on a lot of things much faster than I think most teenagers would. What has been your guys' impression so far? Maybe something else to kind of keep in mind as you keep reading this stuff.
I think he serves as a good contrast. I knew guys that, I was fairly smart as a 16-year-old. I'm not saying I was a valedictorian or anything, but I knew guys that they just picked up on things. They were faster on the uptake. He doesn't feel out of place to me. He feels like he's just that guy that's a little bit more mature for his age. He's a little bit faster on the uptake. And to me, Warren's upbringing justifies a lot of how he acts. Just the rough life that he's kind of had, personally. Gray, what do you think?
I would agree with that. I think use those two examples of AJ and Warren being the standout characters that may be smarter than they're supposed to be. AJ seems book smart and lore smart or magic smart. Like he seems tapped in because of his family and Nan, which would make sense. And then JC already pointed out the fact that Warren's background gives him a legitimate reason for why he would assess everything that the way that he does. And I'll just add to that. I think that these characters wouldn't be as interesting if they were average. I think you have Layla and Luke both feel pretty average. They both feel like they should for their age. You know, Layla being more mature than Luke for sure. He feels like the age that he should be. And so the contrast between those normie characters, I guess you'd call them, and the other two and the rest of the weird stuff, I don't know. It works for me.
Good though. Maybe keep that in mind because especially like I'm thinking about what I've read in the last couple of weeks with AJ. I was like, is that too fast? Is that too fast for him to pick up on something like that?
Edmund Burke thing, that may be a bit much. I don't know. Maybe that's not a line that Layla would know. Maybe she isn't the one to throw that in Warren's face because it does actually feel more like something that AJ would mention if Warren gave him the time of day at this point in the narrative.
No, that's a good point.
On that, I think you'll get away with it if for Layla, if you want to keep it with her. Anyway, if you give her a bit of a connection to the Holocaust unit, why did that stick with her specifically? And then that gives her a reason to throw that quote out there. And I'm not saying you have to say that she had like a direct connection to the Holocaust. Maybe it's just something that she can relate to. But again, that's a really good point. That might have been a better line to give when I'm in Layla's head. Which next scene, Layla's POV, finally. Nice.
Hope you guys enjoy it. Maybe I ought to think about moving that because I definitely want Warren to be worked on from multiple angles. Like he's the relevant hero. Everyone's trying to get him to be involved, except for Luke. Luke doesn't give a crap.
Luke doesn't care. I will say this: it would be interesting if Luke actually became. And again, it's your story. Do whatever the heck you want. It would be interesting if Luke became the linchpin that finally got Warren to do something. Because it almost felt like that in the last chapter where Luke knows they're doing something just absolutely stupid, going out into the woods. He's got a baseball bat, and he's going because he knows if he doesn't, Layla's going to be out there by herself. And I think that opens him up to later helping Warren come to that realization again. Just a thought. Don't know if what you're doing with it or not. That's again.
Warren's, that's kind of his whole character arc in my mind for this book, and I'm struggling to make it natural. I was going to have the scene with Bradley. I was going to have Bradley blackmail him, but then as I was writing that scene, I was like, I don't think Warren would react well to blackmail. I don't think he's someone that would be as susceptible. So I tried to. But yeah, I think you guys both picked up on something I've been struggling with that scene in particular. Like, why is he suddenly kind of flipping a switch? And I didn't want it to feel like flipping a switch. So it's something I need to work on more on. Yeah, I think those are the questions I have.
Okay.
Appreciate you guys.
Cool.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, good work, both of you this week.
You too, man. You are a good writer. The thing that Tyler says about fluctuating back and forth between I am the greatest thing since carrot cake and I am an imposter. That is so true.
Absolutely. Yeah, especially with all the indie authors that are out there. There's so many of us, and you pick up some and it's like, ooh, maybe I need to go back and revise that one again. And then you pick up others and you're like, okay, I'm doing all right. No shade to my fellow indie authors. It's just, everybody's at a different stage in their writing career, and not everybody can afford, a top tier editor, or not everybody thinks they need an editor when, in fact, they do. So it's that, again, people might wonder, why are we doing a writers group? Well, this is why we do a writers group, because we need that feedback, not just the critiques, but also the constructive or the uplifting of saying, yeah, no, this is good. It needs some tweaks, yes, obviously, but it's good. You're on the right track. You're going the right direction. So
yeah.
So that brings us to the question we were wanting to talk about.
Yeah, that's a perfect segue.
Yes.
Because
did your subconscious plan that?
No. Too tired for that.
I don't think any of us are smart enough to have done it on purpose.
Yeah. Oh man.
But with writing, sorry, you go ahead, Gray.
Go for it, Tyler. Whichever of us was still awake,
Yeah.
It's not going to be me for very much longer. But I was saying, so writing individual, obviously, unless you're co-writing, but even when you're co-writing, you're not, sitting shoulder to shoulder and writing at the same time. But we wanted to talk about why is it important to connect with other people, whether that's in the small group setting like what we're doing here, or like going to conferences.
So I guess the big thing is, so I was a solo writer for the longest time. I had a writers group, but neither of them were interested in being published. They liked writing, they wanted to get better at writing, but they weren't out to be published. And so their help was useful, but limited. And so when I got out, I moved to Idaho. I had nobody. And then I got the rare opportunity to go to a writers conference. And I was like, okay, I need to go to more of these. And I went to that writers conference again. Bear Lake Writers Conference is the one. And the second time, so the one in 2025, Tyler and Gray. Sorry, I'm gonna get this. Tyler and Gray were there, and it was Tyler actually that approached me about the idea of being in a writers group. And thanks to, at the time we were just using Discord, but thanks to the internet and the ability to, connect online, was a huge opportunity. And so, to put it into perspective, I've been working on Technomancer for 4 years, I think, and I was stuck on it. But as soon as these guys started giving me feedback, and I started getting their perspectives on the story, and seeing the questions that I couldn't see anymore that needed answers, all of a sudden I had the answers. And again, we've referenced this before. I wrote 26,000 words in 5 days. They both wanted to slap me. Out there. They both wanted to slap me for it, but in a week I got farther than I had in the previous 5 years, because I was getting feedback from other writers. And so these in-person events make all the difference. You make connections, you get feedback, you learn, you get different perspectives. That's my take on it. What about you guys? What do you think?
Yeah, I'll say for me, similar JC, where I kind of had this passion for writing for a long time, and you struggle when you try to work and do things on your own. It's sort of like when you make a New Year's resolution to go to the gym, which I know nobody can relate to, uh, and if you can do that on your own strength for about a month, right? But if you don't have that accountability, it's pretty challenging in and of yourself to keep doing things consistently. And so it's nice to have somebody else help you along. I know, funny story for me, I was actually working on a mountain in the middle of nowhere at a summer camp, a year-round summer camp. And I was like, man, I really need to get serious about writing, but I'm so focused on work and I'm not going to drive an hour into town to try to find a writer's group. I don't know. Is that something that's even nearby? And then in my lap falls this writers conference that happens to book at our facility. I'm like, well, I have no excuse now. I'm going to attend this thing. So I did. And that was kind of the kick in the pants that I needed initially to like, okay, get out there. And the word network is scary, but making allies or friends, that's not so much, right? That's just interpersonal connection. And if you have something in common, writing, it's something to talk about, right? And I didn't like that conference make a whole lot of really close friends and allies. That was a while back and in a different state. But, you pick yourself up and you meet people by consistently keeping yourself in that world, going to a couple of conferences. In person is always great, so you can get a feel for people. And then eventually, I met these two guys. And I don't know if... I guess we'll give Tyler credit, but I feel like I was about to suggest it. Like, hey, we should do a writer's group. Let's grab that bearded guy that just gave that excellent presentation about world building. Yeah, that's kind of the story. And yeah, there's so many advantages to that. What about you, Tyler?
Yeah, I completely agree with what you're saying. For me, talking about the Bear Lake Writers Conference that we all met at, which is really good. And you guys, dear listener, if you live in the area, you should go to it. I went with ulterior motives. Like, I didn't really expect to get too much out of the presentations, which I did do. But when you think about, I'm going to go off on 3 different tangents here. I apologize, guys. When you think about the world of writers' education, there is such high quality stuff out there. Like, Brandon Sanderson has his freaking college course lectures online. And so many of the best-selling authors have their own writing podcast where they actually teach you about writing. It's part of why we, at least my idea for this podcast wasn't just to talk about writing. It was to show a writers group and the skill of giving and receiving feedback, which is kind of really difficult. So I went with ulterior motives. I went with a bunch of business cards. See, I think I gave you one. Gray, I'm sure I gave you one too. And I was like, let me edit your book. Let me edit your book. Let me edit your book. And I'll tell you right now, nobody's contacted me about editing their book from that. But it was awesome because, like, I got to the writers' conference and I was there a little bit early. And then so I sat for a few minutes in my car. A few minutes after, it was just, the doors were open, so I wasn't like going to be the first awkward person. But I got in line and I was right behind Gray. And for those of you who are not tall and male, there is an instant connection when there is another tall guy. So we got to chatting. We sat together in the auditorium with the opening. What do they call it? Opening ceremonies, and we were just chatting. And JC was there sitting somewhere else, and then we both went to his presentation, which, like Gray said, was really, really good. And gave him a business card. I was like, hey, you mentioned you didn't have an editor for your last books. Hey, I can help you out. And then, just chatting. And then, yeah, like I just mentioned to Gray right before, like, I believe you're Gray, that it was right before you were about to suggest it. It's like, hey, we should do a writing group. Hey, we should get JC into our writing group. And then it just kind of all fell together and we had a great vibe. And we had our first several sessions, non-recorded. This was before we even had the thought of starting the podcast, and it's been really, really good. And we do a lot of different things with our writers group. Obviously, this is a really big part of it, but that daily word count accountability, like Gray was talking about, is really, really important. Like, I don't feel guilty for the last 2 weeks because I'm editing my book. I'm not writing at all, and I'm kind of in that boat. When I was in the writing process and I'd go a couple days without writing, I'd be like, like, and not that you guys would like get on my case too much, but I did feel like I needed to step up because I was talking to you guys every day about how much I'd written. So really, really good, really, really important. Obviously, maybe a writer's group wouldn't work for every author. I know Stephen King is like against them, but I think for 98% of them, of us writers, it can be really, really, really powerful.
Since most of us aren't Stephen King.
Yeah. And that's the funny thing. To reference the biggest sci-fi fantasy author right now in the world is Brandon Sanderson. He's been in a writer's group since college. He still uses the same writer's group. They don't meet. I think he said they don't meet as frequently as they used to, but he still has his writer's group. And I mean, look at where he's at. And so getting to know your fellow writers, interacting with your fellow writers, is important. And especially because we all tend to be introverts. We don't like meeting new people. We don't like getting out there. And so overcoming that natural reluctance is going to be hard, but there are a lot of small writers conferences out there, like Bear Lake. Bear Lake is not a big writers conference. It's a single day. It's in a Oregon Trail museum, so it doesn't cost a lot of money. The hardest part for me is it's on the other side of the state, so it's a bit of a drive. And then there's the Eagle Mountain Writers Conference down in Utah that I will be presenting at as a subtle hint.
Just throwing it out there.
Just throwing it out there. It's also another smaller one. And the smaller writers' conferences are that much more accessible. It gives you the opportunity to meet people. And then you got the huge ones like StoryCon, which would I love to go to StoryCon? Yes, absolutely. Do I think I will in the near future? Absolutely not. I don't have that kind of money. So you don't have to feel pressured to go right into something big. Find a small one. I almost guarantee there's a local writers group or a local writers conference just about everywhere. I know there's not actually one in the Boise area anymore, which is sad. I'm considering if we get enough interest in the podcast and start generating some interest that way, I might start forcing these guys to help me put one together.
That's an idea.
Yeah, because there used to be one out here, and I learned from one of the presenters at Bear Lake. He used to go to it, and they're not doing it anymore for whatever reason. I don't know. So, yeah, get out there and meet other writers. I mean, go to your local library and see if there's a writers group. Put up a flyer, say, hey, looking to meet fellow writers. You need it. You need that feedback. You need that extra help. And if somebody's like, well, you write fantasy, but I write romance.
Doesn't work. Never, ever.
No, it never worked. No, but they will. There's always going to be something they can offer. It was really interesting when I was teaching that world building class, all of the various people that were represented and in what they were writing and the questions I got and trying to help people understand how world building works, because that can be such an intimidating concept for some people. So yeah, it's, I guess like Tyler said, it's important getting to meet your fellow writers, interacting with them in person, face to face, in, flesh space is, or meat
space.
meat space is the term I've heard people referencing it to. It's important. It will help your career. It will help you as a writer. And don't be intimidated.
Just because we're 6 feet tall and we look like male models doesn't mean you can't approach us.
Yeah, I'm the short one at 6'1" in this group. So that is not something. Yeah, that is something I'm not used to feeling is short. So I think think that covers that question. Again, if you guys, listeners, dear listeners, are interested in asking or having a question answered, we will probably not have it set up yet, but we'll probably be getting a Patreon set up where you can submit questions that we'll answer and feature at the end of an episode or at the beginning of an episode. Because we want to know what you guys, I mean, on top of just showing you what it's like to be in a writers group, we also want to give a little bit of advice here and there. And if we know what people are having questions about, then we can answer them.
We're pretty good.
We try.
We're the best of the best.
Yeah.
No comment.
And one of the things I do want to start making sure we're addressing a little bit more as we go through is the importance of knowing how to be in a writers group. Like, you see that we have a pretty good rapport going on. We give feedback, we give criticism, but we also take it. You notice that when we're giving each other criticism, generally speaking, the person receiving the criticism's mouth is closed. Unless they're getting a direct question. And that's something we can talk about in a later episode. I don't want to give everything away right now.
Yeah.
So come back later.
Keep your ego out of it when you're giving and receiving feedback.
Yes.
It's something I'm trying to teach my creative writing students right now is how important that is, and it's also really difficult, and they're not very good at it yet.
Yes.
It's something you have
creative.
To practice.
I was about to say, your creative writing students' ages are usually what? They're
I have like 13 to 18 year olds.
Okay, yeah. Ego out for teenagers is not going to be easy.
Yeah.
We're just dumping on teenagers this episode.
But kind of the main problem, this is a lot of writers' problems, is that they're too nice when they're giving feedback. Yes. Sometimes I feel like these guys are too nice to me. Like, I wish they'd be pointing out more of my flaws.
I wish there was more to point out. It'd make me feel better.
Well, to be honest, I've pointed out one of your flaws enough that I think I don't need to berate you on it every single episode.
Yeah, that is true. That, like, you have to be willing to, and like, sometimes I'm a little bit worried when I'm like, okay, I this is something I want to talk about with one of these guys, but are they going to take it well? And you guys always take it really well. And if you frame constructive feedback, constructive criticism in a kind way, it's going to be fine. So be mean, but don't be mean. Without being mean.
Yeah. Establish a line of emotional credit first before you make that withdrawal.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that's a big thing. And again, circling this back to the original question, meeting somebody in person starts establishing that. Like, I met Tyler, I met Gray, I talked to them, they were in one of my classes. I got a good impression from both of them before we even actually had a conversation. It helped. Just randomly throwing up a message on Facebook, hey, you want to be in my writers group, is going to be potentially devastating, because either A, nobody's going to answer, or B, the people that answer, you're not going to have that emotional line of credit, and it's going to make it harder. So again, if you're local to Idaho or Utah, there's the Bear Lake Writers Conference. It's every October. And then the Eagle Mountain Writers Conference is in March. And yes, I will be presenting at the one in Eagle Mountain, just so you know. But it's a great opportunity. They're not big conferences, but there's enough people there and enough good presentations that it's worth going to.
Yeah, but I think the principle remains. You could be in Florida right now listening to this, or you could not be in the continental United States listening to this, right? But the principle remains. Find your people, go local, and you can always do something like this after the fact. But yeah, I don't think you'll be disappointed getting yourself out there. Cool. Does that kind of wrap things up? Any other thoughts on that question, guys?
I think that
something we haven't been good about is plugging what they should go and do. You guys should, dear listener, you should go check out Gray's Substack at Gray Alder or something like that.
Yep.
Is that right?
Yep.
At Gray Alder.
Check out Hero Unit. Check out all of JC's books, the many books he has.
Yes. Hopefully soon to be available at Barnes & Noble.
Yep. For me, I'm kind of opening up my book for beta readers right now as I'm editing it. If you have a book that you want edited, hit me up. We can talk about it. And yeah, go write something.
All right, awkward silence.
Yeah. Oh, what was I going to say? That's another question we could address maybe next time. Beta readers.
Yep.
What are they and why do you need them?
Something to look forward to.
Something to look forward to. Yes.
Okay.